The sun scorched the red earth of Lagad that afternoon, but Adaora hardly noticed. Her white volunteer coat clung to her back, sweat pooling under her arms, yet her hands moved deftly, bandaging, swabbing, soothing the sick. She lived for this kind of chaos. The dust, the cries, the gratitude. And then, she saw him. Tall, with warm brown skin and the kindest eyes she'd ever seen. His name tag read Dr. Obinna Okoye. His laugh was gentle, his presence steady. While others rushed from one patient to another, he listened. Fully. Attentively. As if each heartbeat mattered. That day, something shifted in Adaora's chest. Something permanent. They worked side by side for 2 weeks during the medical outreach. Long hours blurred into starlit conversations and shared bowls of pepper soup. He called her Umuoma Ma, the beautiful one, and the words danced in her ears for days. When the outreach ended, they didn't. Obinna began driving into the city to see her on weekends. Their love unfolded in whispers, behind shut doors, between text messages, and on weekend strolls. Adaora, always the composed older sister, kept the relationship private. Not out of shame, but because of Chinyu. Chinyu, bold, unpredictable, and quick with biting words, had always mocked Adaora's choices. "You're too serious," she'd say. "Too plain. Who would ever chase a girl like you when I'm around?" Adaora didn't want to risk it. Not this time. Not with Obinna. 3 months after the outreach ended, life settled into a quiet rhythm. Adaora and Obinna still kept their relationship discreet. Weekend meetups, stolen kisses, whispered calls at night. Then, it happened. Chinyu twisted her ankle on a rain-slicked sidewalk and limped into the city clinic, grumbling about the potholes and her broken sandals. The receptionist led her into a consultation room, and after a few minutes, the doctor walked in. It was Obinna. He was wearing a white coat this time, stethoscope slung around his neck, but the warmth in his eyes hadn't changed. "Good afternoon," he said, smiling. "How bad is the ankle?" Chinyu blinked, stunned. "You're a doctor." "I am," he chuckled. "Let's take a look." He knelt, gently examining her swollen foot, making jokes to distract her from the pain. Chinyu, usually guarded, found herself laughing. She admired the way his hands moved, gentle, professional, sure. The way his voice soothed. The way he remembered her name hours later when she was leaving. "Take care, Chinyu," he said, holding the door open for her. "Rest the ankle and avoid heels, for now." She smiled. "I just might come back to thank you when I can walk properly." That night, Chinyu couldn't stop thinking about him. She told Adaora over dinner. "There's this doctor at the clinic. Obinna. He's different." Adaora's spoon paused midair. "Obinna," she repeated, too carefully. "Yeah," Chinyu grinned, missing the tension in Adaora's tone. "Tall, calm, killer smile. You'd like him." Adaora said nothing. Because this was her Obinna. Her secret. Her love. And yet she hadn't told Chinyu. Because Chinyu. Chinyu always got what she wanted. And now, Chinyu wanted Obinna. Obinna didn't know Chinyu was Adaora's sister. He had seen the resemblance, the eyes, the smile, but never put the names together. Chinyu began texting him, casually at first, then more flirtatiously. And Obinna, too polite to embarrass her or shut her down harshly, said nothing. He didn't mention Adaora. Didn't correct her assumption that he was single. One message became 2. Then a lunch invitation. Then a late-night phone call. He told himself he was being kind. He didn't realize he was setting fire to a house he didn't know he was living in. The E's family compound pulsed with noise, laughter, and high-life music. Guests flowed in and out, balancing plates of jollof rice and chicken, calling out greetings, clinking drinks. It was Chinyu's birthday, a milestone celebration their mother insisted be done properly. Adaora had barely arrived, dressed in an elegant coral gown, when she spotted Chinyu waving excitedly at someone near the garden wall. And then, she saw him. Obinna. Her Obinna. He stood beside Chinyu, laughing easily, holding a drink. His hand rested casually on her lower back. Adaora blinked. Once. Twice. Her heart slammed against her chest. What is he doing here? She took a tentative step forward. Chinyu turned, beaming. "Ada. Come and say hi." Adaora forced a smile and approached, her heels suddenly too loud against the concrete. Obinna turned. Their eyes met. And in that instant, the world cracked. His smile died. Hers did too. Chinyu, noticing the change in air, looked between them. You two know each other? She asked, laughing lightly. Adaora blinked. You, no Obinna. Chinyu frowned. Of course I do. We met months ago at the clinic. He treated me when I sprained my ankle. We've been talking since then. She turned to Obinna and grinned. He's been such a sweetheart. Adaora looked at Obinna. Her mouth moved, but no words came. Chinyu's expression began to shift. Slowly. Ada, how do you know him? Obinna opened his mouth. Closed it. Then whispered, we've been seeing each other. Since the outreach. Chinyu stepped back. Her face contorted. No, she looked at Adaora. Is that true? Adaora nodded, barely able to speak. I didn't know. I didn't know you were talking to him. Chinyu's voice cracked. But you never said anything. You just kept him hidden. And I've been talking about him for weeks. I was afraid, Adaora said, tears rising. You always want what I have. You take it. I didn't want to lose him. Oh, so I'm the thief now. Chinyu snapped, shaking. You think I stole him from you? I didn't say that, Adaora whispered. But you meant it. Their mother, drawn by the raised voices, stepped in. What is happening here? She demanded. Mama, Chinyu cried, voice rising. She's been secretly dating Obinna. The same man I've been seeing. And she never said a word. Their mother's gaze landed on Adaora. Then on Obinna. Then she sighed. Chinyu, you have to let this go. What? Adaora is older. More serious. She's ready for a man like Obinna. It would be best if you stepped aside. Chinyu recoiled. So I don't matter. Again. It's not that, their mother said. But some things are written. Let your sister have her blessing. Chinyu laughed bitterly, tears brimming. You're Adaora. Always your Adaora. That night, the celebration continued outside, but inside the E's house, the sisters sat in silence, the air between them heavy and sharp. Obinna stood in the hallway, helpless. I never meant for this to happen, he said. Chinyu glared at him. But you let it happen. Adaora looked at him, tears silently streaking down her face. If you cared about either of us, you would have spoken sooner. And with that, everything changed. It was meant to be a small celebration, just family, a few close friends, and a catered lunch under the bougainvillea tree. Adaora wore a soft gold lace dress. She stood beside Obinna, her hand resting lightly on his arm. Their mother had called everyone together, smiling proudly. Family, she began, raising a glass. We have an announcement. Adaora took a breath, her eyes fixed on Chinyu, who stood at the far corner of the compound, arms folded tightly. She ignored the weight in her chest and spoke. Obinna and I are engaged. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Cheers. Smiles. Some claps. But not from Chinyu. She stepped forward slowly, her voice sharp and slicing through the noise. You shouldn't be congratulating them. Silence. Chinyu's lips trembled. I'm pregnant. With Obinna's child. The world stopped. Adaora's face drained of color. Obinna blinked like someone slapped him. What? The crowd turned. Their mother dropped her glass. A sharp shatter followed. You're lying, Adaora said, breathless. This is another game. Chinyu's voice broke. It's not a lie. I found out 2 weeks ago. I wanted to wait. But if you're going to parade him around like some prize, then I have to protect my child. Your child. Adaora choked out, eyes locked on Obinna. Is it true? Obinna stammered. Chinyu and I, we only, once. I didn't think. Adaora stepped back. Her ring felt like ice on her finger. You didn't think, she said, voice trembling. You're both liars. I was willing to fight for us. I stayed silent. I watched you dance between us, and still, I believed you loved me. Obinna reached out. Ada, please. Don't, she said, pulling away. You made your choice. Both of you did. Days after the engagement disaster, Obinna sat alone in his apartment, blinds shut, phone screen dark, untouched meals cold on the table. He had tried calling Adaora, texting, emailing. He even went to her flat. Empty. Gone. She had disappeared like smoke, not just from him, but from everyone. Her number rang endlessly. Her friends claimed not to know where she went. Even her mother was in the dark. Obinna sank into himself, guilt gnawing through his ribs like termites. Then there was Chinyu. Pregnant. Angry. Demanding. You're not going to disappear on me too. She hissed one evening in his office, clutching her small but growing belly. You think I planned this? I told you the truth. The least you can do is take responsibility. I never meant to hurt either of you, Obinna whispered. But you did. So be a mun. Marry me. Give this child a name. Obinna stared at her. A face that once reminded him of Adaora's, now clouded with bitterness and desperation. The wedding came quickly. No fanfare. No music. No guests. Just Chinyu in a fitted ivory dress, trying not to cry, and Obinna in a dull gray suit, barely looking up. Their mother signed the registry with shaking hands. It's what's best, she mumbled. No one smiled. Not even the bride. The months that followed were colorless. Chinyu gave birth to a baby boy, healthy, loud, beautiful. Obinna named him Chitara. But joy never entered the house. Chinyu walked on eggshells, Obinna barely spoke. They slept in the same house but not in the same room. He buried himself in work. Long shifts. Extra rotations. Nights on call. At home, silence wrapped the air like a fog. Chinyu tried to pretend. She posted happy photos. Filtered captions. But behind closed doors, her resentment grew. She had won, but still felt like she had lost. It started with a high fever. Baby Chitara, just 6 months old, lay limp in Chinyu's arms as they rushed into the hospital. Obinna met them there, panic masked behind a doctor's discipline. Tests were run. IVs connected. The child stabilized, but one detail raised a red flag, a rare blood type inconsistency between Obinna and the child. The pediatrician, confused, suggested a full genetic workup to rule out inherited complications. Obinna agreed. Chinyu hesitated. But under pressure, she signed the consent form. 3 days later, the results came in. Obinna was not the father. Obinna held the printout in his hand, staring at the numbers like they were written in another language. The doctor explained it again. No possibility of paternity. 0% match. He walked out of the room and found Chinyu pacing the hallway. Her eyes locked on his face. She knew. Obinna. Tell me it's wrong. Chinyu opened her mouth. Closed it. Then the dam broke. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was just one night. Before you and I. Before everything. I was angry with Ada. I was drunk. It meant nothing. But the pregnancy meant everything, right? Obinna said, voice shaking. She nodded, tears streaming. I thought, if I had your child, you'd stay. I could win. Just once. Just once, I wanted to be the one who was chosen. Obinna stared at her like he didn't know her at all. You lied, he said quietly. You trapped me. I loved you, she whispered. No, he said. You loved beating Adaora more than you loved me. Obinna packed his things that same night. No shouting. No threats. Just silence. Chinyu clung to his arm, sobbing. Please, don't go. He turned to her one last time. I could have forgiven a mistake. But not a war you chose to start. He walked out. Months passed. Obinna lived in silence, not the kind that came from peace, but from absence. Chinyu was gone. The lies exposed. The marriage annulled. But it brought him no relief. Only a haunting question. Where is Adaora? He asked her mother. No clue. Her friends. Tight-lipped. Social media. Cold and blank. Still, he kept searching, not because he was hopeful, but because he needed to. Finally, through a former outreach coordinator, he found a lead. She's volunteering in Nsukka, at a rural health center. Obinna made the trip in a downpour, his heart thudding harder with every mile. When he arrived, she was standing outside the clinic under a tin roof, handing out supplies to young mothers. She looked different, healthier, clear-eyed, but colder, stronger, and heavily pregnant. Obinna stepped forward, rain sliding down his face like tears. Adaora, he whispered. She turned slowly. Their eyes locked. 1,000 emotions passed between them, love, pain, betrayal, longing. Obinna took a shaky breath. I've looked everywhere for you. I didn't want to be found, she said calmly. I'm sorry, he said. I was a coward. I failed you. I failed us. But I never stopped loving you. Adaora's eyes glistened, but her face remained composed. She placed a hand on her swollen belly. You lost me the day you let her claim you, she said. She lied. And you let her, she snapped, voice trembling. You didn't fight for me. You didn't even ask. Silence. He reached out gently, his hand hovering over her arm. Let me be here for you. For the baby. For us. She looked at him, the man she once gave everything to, and gave him a tired smile. You can be the father, but we're not going back. I survived the worst of you. I can raise this child in peace." Tears slid down his cheeks. "I still love you," he whispered. "I know," she said. "But sometimes love isn't enough." Adaora gave birth to a baby girl in London, a calm, wide-eyed child named Ziora, meaning show the world. Adaora worked long hours as a nurse in a city hospital, saving every penny, building a new life from scratch. It wasn't easy, but it was hers. Free of shame, free of ghosts. Sometimes at night, when Ziora slept in her crib, Adaora would think of Obinna, of what could have been, but she never reached for the phone. Forgiveness didn't mean returning. Sometimes, it meant letting go completely. Obinna never remarried. He returned to rural health work, spending his days in remote villages, treating those who had nothing, giving them everything he could. Every now and then, he'd treat a little girl with eyes like Adaora's and his throat would tighten. He never forgot the daughter he couldn't hold, couldn't kiss goodnight, couldn't raise. But he accepted it. His punishment wasn't exile. It was remembering. She knew moved back home briefly, but nothing was the same. Her mother's disappointment sat heavy on the walls. Her friends had moved on. Her name was whispered in the markets, not with pity, but with scorn. She eventually left town and opened a small tailoring shop in a quiet place where no one knew her story. But some nights, she sat in the dark, staring at old photos, wondering if one decision could really ruin everything. It had.